Hello, I hope you're well. Today I'm going to talk to you about William Eggleston. He's a really important American photographer, and my idea through this video is not like I will give you the perfect structural way of introducing to his work or full details. It's more to inspire you because I think it's really one of the photographers who is still alive, and in general, it's one of the photographers in the history of photography that's really important to come to familiarize ourselves with his work if we are interested in photography. So he was born in 1939 in Memphis, Tennessee, and he's considered the father of color photography. I think before his time, photography was more like the more serious photographers at the time photographing like in black and white. So color was maybe more like on daily things or things like that. And his style and approach, he's photographing the banal and the ordinary. I'm having my notes if I look down. And his use of color, like capturing with vivid colors and stringent compositions. And he is a master of dye transfer printing, which allow for deep, rich colors, making his images visually immersive. I think, yeah, as I will show you, his work include like red ceilings, empty dinners, neon lit streets, and lonely figures frozen in time. He was quite influential photographer, but the thing is like, I'm really bad on reading my notes, so let's go to see. For me, is one of his more iconic work, and every time this is called Untiled Memphis, and it's from 1970. I think this is a quite familiar, I hope you can see, photograph of a tricycle. And it says here in this is a book from his landmark book, which is called William Eggleston Guide, in 1976, which in 2012 sold for $500,000 in a new edition of digital prints. So I mean, what we can see here is like it's a very like a bike. We can see like it's rusted from the time, and but the point of view is kind of lower, like maybe from a kid's point of view. And I did some analysis when I was doing my essay, and it was like as I mentioned maybe in a previous videos, I was doing a course in photography, and I had an essay in my final year which was called "Is there a beauty in photographing the ordinary and the banal?" And this was one of the photos I discuss more, and we can see an art historian says about Matthew Israel suggested that he laid down to take the photo to have a more child view, how the child will view the photo. And Eggleston spoke about his work, and sometimes he said that he's photographing in a way that a non-human would have photographed. And I mean, there is a lot of analysis about Eggleston works, but I think he said that he doesn't really analyze a lot of his work, and he simply takes photos. And what we'll see in the work in general is that he tends to photograph only once per item and then move on in the next thing. And he's also say in the notes in this book, it says a picture is what it is, and I have never noticed that it helps to talk about them or answer specific questions about them. I think it's quite interesting that a photographer speaks this way about his work, because a lot of photographers tend to analyze their own works, but we don't see this with Eggleston. And he says also, I had this notion of what I called a demographic way of looking around, that nothing was more or less important. And that's quite interesting from him. He's photographing the ordinary and the banal. And what we say, he said only ever take one picture of one thing, literally, never two. So then that is a picture taken, and then the next one is waiting. I don't really worry if it works out or not. I figure it out, not worth worrying about it. There is always another picture. And that's quite an interesting approach again. Just only photographing one thing per time. And another example of his work is as we'll see, I think I will show you now in a minute. This is quite an interesting photo for me. Oh, but I cannot find it now. But maybe it's a different. But let's go through. I have 4 books and my mind is jumping between the books. But oh yeah, I find it. This one. Look how this photo is so ordinary and banal. It's just a ceiling. But look how powerful it is. And it is called Untitled, Greenwood, Mississippi, 1973. And I have like in my notes again for this photo. He said, William Eggleston said about the deep red color in this photo. So powerful, I've never seen it reproduced on the page to my satisfaction. When you look at dye transfer print, it's like it's red blood, that it is wet on the wall. And he has like a similar photo, which is like a blue one, like a different version of this. And you can see, as we say, how powerful is the use of the photo in his work. And there's something interesting on this, on this book, which is called Image Makers, Image Takers. He speaks about his work and he says, how do you decide if something is worth of being captured? And his reply goes, I never know beforehand until I see it. It just happens all at once. I take a picture very quickly and instantly forget about it. Not for good, but for the time being. Suddenly, I just feel like I have to take a picture. Sometimes I will leave the house with a fully loaded camera and end up with nothing. It's just about being there. Anywhere. Even the most uninteresting, ugly or boring places can for an instant become magical to me. And he says, and then the interviewer asks, what goes through your mind when you are framing a shot? Nothing really. It happens so fast, I compose very quickly and without thinking, but consciously. I take a picture instantly and never more than one. That's it. I think this is quite comes to my work. In most of the cases, I try to take one photo. Okay, sometimes I'm retrying, but I quite like this approach. And it's a lot of times that I'm coming home without no photos taken, you know. And it's always like that. And I think today I left my home and I just find like a photo maybe I'll share in the future, but it was like something really boring. It was like a TV but with a smile on it, and somebody left it on the rubbish. And I think that's the point of photography. You just go and it's unsurprising. Then if you go to see another photo which is called Sumner, Mississippi, Cassidy Bayou in background, which is called taken in 1970s. And this is another photo. I think the bike and the red ceiling are maybe the 3 photos of this photographer that more makes me think a lot. And in these photos you can see like it's a black guy wearing a white clothes and a white guy wearing like dark clothes. And I think this photo, I hope it focuses well, is like taken from a movie. I think the composition is so great, and it makes me think why the people are there. What's happened? Do they have to meet somebody, or I don't know. It's a great photo. And then there is another thing. I'm going back to this book, and it is this photo. They show this photo, which again, nothing really interesting. It's just so banal and everyday moment. And he says, I'm at war with the obvious, William Eggleston has said, and he set out to prove it by showing the everyday and the ordinary in a startling new light. More than almost any photographer in recent years, Eggleston has expanded the medium vocabulary to accept color and include subjects disregarded by most photographers. Which, initially when I thought, he says, I am at war with the obvious, but he's photographing the banal and the ordinary, which somehow contradict. But if we think about it, his subject is the obvious, and he's used the color. Maybe these photos will not have any interesting. And what it says here, like, yes, sorry, I'm going to finish before I go back to what it says on the book. But obvious, sometimes it feels like it's the banal, but he's referring more to the obvious, what most of the people were doing. So by photographing the banal, he's stopped photographing what was obvious to be photographed, which I don't know if it makes sense at all. In my brain, maybe because English is not my first language, it's like there is something obvious on the banal, but maybe not so many people see it. But because for me, I'm mainly photographing the banal and the ordinary, so maybe that's why it's obvious. And it says like here, this image of the gas station in Tallahatchie Country is typical. He might be obvious, but he does not scorn the virtues of simplicity, the kind of mysterious simplicity that tantalizes and draws in the viewer. No one before Eggleston thought much of photography shoes under a bed, the contents of a bridge, a red light bulb, or a white tin industrial building through the flash of red. Okay, it says though the flash of red is so important. And the reintends one more, Eggleston work, and to reiterate once more, Eggleston work is not about color, it is color. Just think of this image in black and white. It might work, but it's unlikely. And I know reading me is not the best idea, but just read. I think this sentence is important. Eggleston work is not about color, it is color. And I think that's why we see that he introduced the photography. And I think the color to photography. And I think I don't know if like it was the best way of describing his work, but for me, what I want you to take out from this video is to go to explore his work better and see how he used color. And we need to understand that at the time, today, it's so different because we can do almost everything we want with Photoshop and all the other tools we have. But imagine at the time, and imagine how skillful you need to do this, to take these photos and like print them. Maybe he said he developed his technique, so maybe he's printing himself. I'm not sure for that, but yeah. So that's the whole idea. This is my second video speaking about a photographer's work. I have another one which I can link here, which goes about Francesca Goodman, and I think it's another interesting photographer. And I will try to come back to make videos like that. I don't know how useful they are, but I hope you like them. And if you have any thoughts, feel free to share below. If you like, what's your favorite between the three? Like the bicycle one, the red ceiling, or the one with the portraits? Speak soon. Have a good day. Bye.